Hello, YouTube. Thaddeus and I, from Reasoned Answers Apologetics channel, are currently going through Bilal Phillips' Dawa manual. So we are learning what Islamic missionaries, as well as the online apologists, as we like to call them, are being taught. They are taught to make assertions, they're presented with very little evidence, and we've provided extensive citations from the Sharia to back up just how badly these apologists are misinformed about Islam, and also how badly they're informed about Christianity. To complement this, what I'm doing is I'm going through a Tarbiyah guide. You can call this an etiquette guide. But this is what Muslim children learn when they start going through the madrassa. So they learn this from the age of 4 or 5 years old, right up into their teens. And this is how they are indoctrinated into the Islamic worldview. This is an excellent complement to what we're covering in the Dawa manual, because you'll discover that the Tarbiyah guides are equally bizarre. The one I've chosen is this Islamic Circle of North America Tarbiyah guide, and we're going to talk about the indoctrination of Muslim children. Rest assured, this is indoctrination. A brief look at ICNA or ICNA. These are your friendly family terror funders next door. This is their logo. The ICNA received over $10 million from the Federal Emergency Management Agency for disaster relief work in 2016 and 18. They are the US representatives of Jamaat-e-Islami. They were banned by the Indian government because of its involvement with extremism and militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. In other words, jihadis. They are involved with a jihadi group and seem to be jihadi funders. ICNA and its subsidiaries openly partner with official Jamaat-e-Islami organizations in Pakistan, such as this Khidmat Foundation, which is a funder of the designated terrorist organization Hamas. The Investigative Project on Terrorism has noted that Al-Khidmat's president is closely involved with Kashmiri jihadist group Hizbul Mujahideen. ICNA also runs an international aid branch, Helping Hand for Relief and Development, which has partnered in Pakistan with Lashkar-e-Taiba, a designated terrorist organization responsible for the 2008 Mumbai attack. They show that there's established funding and partnership with terrorist and extremist organizations, but this has not prevented the US government from funding these groups. As we see here, $10 million. Where did all of that $10 million go? This is what you'll see if you go to their webpage today, which is the 10th of June. You can see they have multiple divisions. They offer education, media gallery, newsroom, outreach, and social services. Let's have a look at their chapter locator. You can see here they have quite an extensive network. These guys are everywhere from Houston, Texas, New York, Queens, right? And we're only halfway down the page at this point, so they have a very large network. And of course, they're connected to the Muslim Students Association, which is a front for the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a growing organization, very popular organization. In fact, they even hold an annual event which draws at least 50,000 people. Dawa has always been the top priority of ICNA. This focus has kept ICNA at the forefront of Dawa activities in North America for 4 decades. They initiated the Why Islam Dawa project, which aims to organize Dawa work in North America in an effective manner. They have a toll-free number for Muslims. They distribute Islamic literature. They do Dawa through the Masjid, Dawa by mail, media, Dawa in prisons, campus Dawa, flyers online, and Dawa through email. And their Chicago chapter initiated an outreach effort called Gain Peace, through which several activities, including bus ads, billboards, and presentations have been undertaken. Let's have a look at the Why Islam initiative, of which they are involved. Let's look at the Why Islam initiative. Have a look at this when you have a chance. So this is an outreach site. What do Muslims believe? Allah, the Quran, the Muslims, Islamic teachings. I don't have time or interest in going through this right now, but I'm sure it's going to be filled with a ton of propaganda. Let's look at Gain Peace. Learn the truth about Islam. Find out how to break free from misconceptions. Education. They're a leading grassroots Muslim organization proud to introduce you an exciting educational adventure. The ILF, the Islamic Learning Foundation, an educational Islamic institution based in New York. They enrich the lives of Muslims in general and Muslim youth in particular by educating their minds, and affecting their hearts with sound knowledge of Sharia. It's very interesting that Muslims will not, and I mean they will not, no matter how much I will ask or provoke them, they will not discuss the Sharia. It is forbidden for them to discuss the Sharia with us, kafir. We know the Sharia, anyone can read it. You just pick up one of these fiqh manuals and read it. Reliance of the Traveller, also known as the Umdat al-Salik, very famous, very popular. And of course the Hadaya. So they want to deepen their awareness of Islam as a universal and eternal way of living for mankind and provide a new caliber of Muslim leaders. And of course, this is the Islamic Learning Foundation, so it's more about Islam, 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 Islam über alles. You're welcome to look through these sites on your own time and see what it is they cover. And of course, they have the annual convention here at icnaconvention.org. One of their recent conventions brought 50,000 people in the 3-day event. Let's go back to our presentation. This is their Tarbiyah booklet, Introduction to the Study of the Quran. The meaning and the tafsir. Tafsir is the exegesis or the explanations. Literally, tafsir means interpretation of the surahs. This will be the interpretations provided by the famous and most influential, most learned scholars of Islam. Names like Ibn Kathir, Ibn Abbas, and of course even modern scholars like Maududi. And of course, so you can see how they do the tafsir of Surah Kafirun, which is us, we are the kafir. This one is put out by the ICNA Chicago Tarbiyah department, and that is their email address, ICNA Chicago. So they speak about prayers and various other things, but also notice before sleeping and after waking up, upon completing your ablutions, entering the bathroom, exiting the bathroom, hearing the prayer, going out of the house, entering and leaving it, step in with the left foot, step out with the right foot, millions of rules that govern exactly what you're supposed to do. It's like having OCD. Now, they speak of the difference here between deen and sharia and the meaning of ibadah, worship. They discuss morals in Islam, and they speak of things like clothing and adornment. Let's look at their introduction to the study of the Quran, and some of this is just more than a little bizarre. They seem to be writing exactly what our objections are to the Quran. They realize that our objections have substance. It says here, we are accustomed to reading books which present information, ideas, and arguments systematically and coherently. By implication, then, the Quran is neither systematic or coherent. So when we embark on the study of the Quran, we expect that this book will revolve around a definite subject, that the subject matter of the book will be clearly defined, will be neatly divided into sections and chapters, after which discussion will proceed in a logical sequence. We expect a separate and systematic arrangement of instruction and guidance for each of the various aspects of human life. However, when we open the Quran, we encounter a hitherto completely unfamiliar genre of literature. It embodies precepts of belief and conduct, moral directives, legal prescriptions, exhortation and admonition, warnings to deniers of the truth, that's you, good tidings and words of consolation and good cheer to those who have suffered for the sake of God, arguments and evidence in support of its basic message, blah blah, myriad of subjects alternate without any apparent system. It admits then that the Quran is haphazard, it is incoherent, quite unlike the books to which we are accustomed. There are abrupt transitions between one subject matter and another. Audience and speaker constantly change. There is no trace of the familiar division into chapters and sections. The narrative does not follow the pattern familiar in historical accounts. We miss the familiar expressions and terminology of formal logic and philosophy. What is interesting is that philosophy is banned in Islam. Your average Muslim is not allowed to study philosophy. You can find that reference in, I think it's chapter 8, 4.2 of the Reliance of the Traveller, which is the world's most famous book on Sharia and fiqh. Questions are discussed in a way very different from that usual in works of social sciences. How is it that it doesn't follow any of the known rules of logic, of order, of literature, of science, of presentation, of scholarly works? Well, apparently Allah is above all those principles. He's able to violate all of those, and that's okay. They speak of juristic principles and legal injunctions that are elucidated but differently from the manner of conventional work. In other words, they don't meet the standard of conventional works. They're not able to meet the standard of Western thought, or just common good sense. When we come across an ethical instruction, it differs entirely from anything to be found elsewhere in the literature of ethic. Not different, it is contrary to. It is unethical. It is the opposite of ethical. So the reader may find all this so foreign to what his notion is of what a book should be, that he may become so confused as to feel that the Quran is a piece of disorganized, incoherent, and unsystematic writing comprising nothing but a disjointed conglomeration of comments of varying lengths put together arbitrarily. I could have written that because it is. They're aware of this, and they're trying to obviously inoculate their students from these arguments, because these arguments have legitimacy, and they are stating them here as effectively having legitimacy because the Quran doesn't conform to any of the standards of what we apply to works of this nature. They do say hostile critics use this as a basis for their criticism, while those more favorably inclined resort to far-fetched explanations or conclude that the Quran consists of unrelated pieces, making it amenable to all kinds of interpretations. And we know it does. The Quranic miracle of reinterpretation is a common thing. David Woods made a number of jokes about that, and he's right. And even interpretations quite opposed to the intent of God who revealed the book. Yeah, that as well is very, very common. What the Quran says about the validity of the Christian text and what Muslims say about it are two opposite and contrary things. We need to be told in advance this book is unique in the manner of its composition. It's like having a fork where all the tines of the fork are twisted. That may be unique. That doesn't make it functional, practical, logical, reasonable, rational. It just means it's broken. We should be forewarned that the concept of a book which we have formed from our previous readings is likely to be a hindrance rather than a help towards a deep understanding of the Quran. Make of that what you will. We must disabuse our minds of all preconceived notions. Long story short, they're telling us the Quran is disorganized and incoherent.